Story 1. My husband blindsided me a month ago and told me that he loved me, but didn't want our life together anymore after moving me to his hometown to be near his family and buy a farm. I already started a new job here and have to stay. We were in the middle of selling our house back in the city. He now has all of my animals, my house, and most of my belongings while I am stuck in a small apartment. He told me he wanted to take some time to be alone and figure out who he was, but he is already dating a young coworker. He had started an emotional affair with her last October, which I was not okay with, but he told me that she was nourishing for him and he would never leave me. On Valentine's Day, he told me that he loved me endlessly and unconditionally. Now, 2 months later, our life together is gone, and I don't know what comes next. Comes in waves. There are moments when I realize I deserve better and that this is the best thing that could be happening if he can just abandon me after meeting someone new. Then there are times when the grief overwhelms me, and all I can do is cry and pray for him to come back to me. I miss my best friend so much, but I don't really want him. This isn't love. Love doesn't abandon. All I know is I'm actually doing the work while he's going to do to her what he did to me. Story 2. I was diagnosed with cancer today. It explains a lot and gives me validation that I wasn't going crazy, but that doesn't make it any less stressful. Story 3. My mom passed away unexpectedly 6 weeks ago. It's been rough. I've had to organize things and make decisions I never expected to make. My little brother and I had the worst fight we have ever had in the wake of it. I felt like I was constantly falling apart. I'm still struggling to get back into my routine and summon the energy to care about my job. I miss her a lot. I also find myself thinking about my dad, whom I lost a long time ago. It's a very wistful and lonely feeling, having all this love and these memories of both of them and not knowing what to do with it. But I'll be okay. I'm trying my hardest to find positive channels for my grief and support my siblings. Throughout this whole process, my partner has shown up for me in a big way. I'm lucky to have them all. Story 4. I know I will never own a home. I see the cognitive decline of my parents. I do not feel good enough at work. Story 5. I was laid off 2 weeks ago and lost a decent 6-figure salary. I feel blindsided. Now, I'll be lucky to find a new job that offers a similar salary while doing more work for less. The job search is demoralizing. There are so many qualified people competing for every single role. It's often about connections if you want to secure a job quickly. Otherwise, be prepared for 6 to 18 months of challenges. Story 6. My mother goes from having a mind like a steel trap one day to suddenly having a mind like Dory from Finding Nemo the next. Story 7. Low motivation. It's partly self-inflicted because I feel like I should be doing more, but I'm stuck mentally with my own self-doubt. Story 8. My sibling has been off their medication and has been acting very strangely, almost childlike at times. They have done bizarre things like pouring boiled peanuts on a lamp and smashing a sentimental chair of mine, then lying about it. I'm nervous because I don't know what to expect next. They have a key to my house, so I need to change the locks. Story 9. Multiple factors contribute to my overall poor well-being. My physical disability problems are worsening. I feel as though I live in a world that increasingly does not want people like me around. My father passed away in February. Additionally, a seemingly small issue for many, but a devastating one for me personally, is the fact that we have not had a Missing Doctor Who episode return in over a decade. It is my favorite show and has been a comfort to me since I was 6 years old. I believe that even one episode returning would significantly improve my mental health right now, but my hopes are nearly extinguished. Coming to terms with the possibility that I may pass away before that missing episode returns, stuck at 97, has deeply affected me. Story 10. My rejection sensitivity is overwhelming. It feels physically painful. Every morning, I wake up and relive the painful realization that I am not good enough. Story 11. I realize I cannot detach my fiancé from the abuse he has suffered at the hands of his family. They are very controlling and try to belittle and manipulate him whenever they can. I feel guilty telling him to stay away from them. It has been weighing heavily on me, and I have no one to talk to who understands. Abuse is abuse, regardless of family or the way the abusers try to disguise it. Story 12. The potential for my benefits to be cut and my inability to pay for essential expenses such as rent, groceries, utilities, and internet due to an error in the government agency is concerning. Story 13. Realizing that I sacrificed to make the world a better place, only to find it worse than I could have ever imagined. Had I been greedy and selfish, not caring about anyone but myself, I would be living a wonderful life right now. Story 14. I am probably just feeling overwhelmed and stretched too thin lately. It feels like I am running on autopilot. I am hanging in there, though some days are better than others. Story 15. My mother died 4.5 years ago, and my wife moved out 3.5 years ago, taking the dogs. Shortly after that, my father had a stroke. In the next 6 days, my divorce will be finalized, and I will lose a significant portion of what I have worked my entire life to earn in the settlement. I am just beginning to feel the effects of aging setting in. I am 57 years old, hike 5-kilometer and 10-kilometer trail routes, and go to the gym when I can. However, I am starting to feel my joints ache even more than usual. My vision is getting slightly worse, and sometimes I struggle to find the right word. I feel tired, lonely, and sad. Story 16. My brother used nitrous oxide excessively, causing actual damage, and he has been hospitalized for the past 5 days. He's having conversations with people who aren't there, saying strange things, and he can't stand up or walk on his own. How am I doing? I'm really sad and frustrated because the timing is terrible. But I also just miss my brother. We used to send each other funny things from the internet all day, and now I'm just left with all this content I can't share with him. Story 17. I just had a baby, and the last time I had a baby, I was diagnosed with cancer shortly afterward. Even though I have been in remission for 2 years and have no signs of relapse, and my new baby is healthy, I have been overwhelmed with paranoia and anxiety about my health and my children's health. It feels like I'm just waiting for something bad to happen. I experience frequent and intense panic attacks. I am in therapy to address these issues. Story 18. I feel so shocked and traumatized that I'm barely responding to what's happening. I have lost 40 pounds in 6 months while I was already at a healthy weight. I only cry or feel sad in therapy. Otherwise, I have accepted things as they are and carry on with my life. I watched him transition from being a partner at a law firm to sitting on the couch for a year, claiming he could not work. He developed major depression with suicidal thoughts seemingly out of nowhere when he turned 35, shortly after we started dating almost 5 years ago. He went through 3 attorney roles during our time together. We decided it was best for him to take a professional break in January 2024 because he started planning his escape and could hardly get out of bed. I stepped up and took over his mortgage and bills. He thought getting prescribed a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor would be adequate help, but it wasn't. I kept telling myself it was no different than if he were sick with cancer or a disability. I couldn't force him to seek proper help. He sat on the couch for a year, placing sports bets on my laptop while I worked as an engineering consultant for 40 to 60 hours a week, pursued my engineering master's degree full-time, paid his bills, and ensured we both had everything we needed. He accused me of being a poor communicator, claiming I wouldn't talk to him and that I twisted his words and tone. When you don't feel emotionally safe with someone and they react negatively anytime you ask something of them, you do become a poor communicator to keep the peace. I kept insisting that this situation was no different than a major illness or disability. My resentment grew stronger toward the end of last year. One evening, he said something that really hurt my feelings, stormed out of the room, and didn't speak to me for a week. Yet, it was my responsibility to approach him. I lost it and started packing my things. He cried and begged me to stay, and I did. A few days later, he lashed out at me again, claiming I misinterpreted his words and actions. In January 2025, he had spent all his savings and came to me asking for more money. I gave him more money. He blatantly told me he would rather die than return to work, expressing that he was glad I was career-oriented and enjoyed working. In February, he cracked his skull after falling in the bathroom. Had I not rushed him to the hospital, he would have died. Thankfully, his neurosurgeon assured that he would be fine and return to baseline without life-altering issues. I was his caretaker, stayed with him in the hospital the entire time, worked remotely, bathed him, and cared for him. He was difficult to handle. I reassured myself he couldn't help his behavior due to the brain injury. I ultimately had to leave him when he was at his lowest point. He became a complete monster, insisting I was the one who needed help, labeling me as a psychopath and bipolar, and claiming my tears were manipulative. When I told him I was leaving, he became aggressive and hostile, screaming that I wasn't in it for better or worse, and that I was responsible for his suicidal thoughts and depression. I abandoned most of my possessions, drove away, informed his wealthy parents of everything, and hugged and kissed them one last time. I can never go back. He hates me and views me as his worst enemy. At least his parents can get him the help he needs, if he is willing to accept it. My guilt is overwhelming. I still feel like I am the problem and that I have failed him because I promised to be in it for the long haul before the accident. Now I am not. I loved him deeply and tried my best to take care of him. Now I need to focus on helping myself. He never had my back. I need to take good care of myself. Story 19. Being scared of losing my job and my source of income to pay rent is based on the current state of the economy and the potential impact of tariffs. Story 20. I quit my job because of a toxic work environment and being yelled at all day. That feeling of relief lasted for 3 weeks, and now I am faced with this job market. It is soul-crushing. Story 21. Finding out that my husband and I are going to be homeless again next month due to no fault of our own has left me in tears. I'm honestly ready to give up on everything. When will it be my turn to be happy and have something go right in my life? I feel beyond overwhelmed and am struggling to cope. Story 22. You would think it would be the absolute self-destruction of working 80-hour weeks on an impossible task while juggling several other projects I take on myself. However, the reality is that I use all of this to distract myself from the fact that I honestly believe I will never find my person. Not to mention, I am having a terrible time wearing myself down. Story 23. Perimenopause. No one warns you about all the horrible symptoms you can experience. The depression and anxiety have left me basically home and bedbound. I also suffer from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and have only recently realized how sensitive I am to hormones. What an injustice to all women from the medical community. Never to discuss this with patients until they are already in the trenches. Chances are you will have to be the one suggesting that this could be your issue. Story 24. Being bullied at work by people I thought were my friends, all because I stopped being a punching bag for one person. That individual reacted strongly and said many hurtful things to me on a day we had special events planned, which I was looking forward to and had helped organize. This all happened because I didn't say good morning to them that day, as I was speaking to someone else when they arrived. Since then, they have spread rumors, gossiped, and played the victim over a situation that had no real victim. All I did was stop initiating conversations after their outburst and focus on my job while wearing headphones. I spend my lunch breaks walking outside. Most of the department doesn't engage with me now. They simply ignore me. It doesn't matter that I was the one who remembered birthdays, always checked in, and tried to be a good friend. What matters is the narrative created by that person. Only 2 people know what really happened or bothered to ask, one of whom is my manager. I am not their first target, but I believe others are trying to appease them to avoid being next. Unfortunately, one day they will be. Today was difficult to reflect on, but it's okay. I will be all right. Everything passes with time, both good and bad. This too shall pass and I will be fine. There is always time for a walk in the park to see the ducks and enjoy the world outside. They cannot take my happiness away. Story 25. I feel like I am watching my dreams not come true. I have been experiencing a decline in my skills at work and a general decrease in cognitive ability. I feel uncreative and empty. I want so much more for myself, but I have no idea how to achieve that. Story 26. My father ended his relationship with me unexpectedly. I am his only child, and he never wanted children. He is emotionally closed off, has remarried, and decided to move on. I have also been very ill, and my doctors think I have Crohn's disease. My father chose to do this while I was in the hospital. It was a truly low blow. Story 27. My mom was diagnosed with leukemia in late February, and died 3 weeks later. She was very healthy and took good care of herself. She exercised every day, didn't smoke or drink, ate healthily, and had just retired in January. It all happened so fast. I still can't understand it and feel like it's all a nightmare. Now, there is me before my mom died and after. I'm different. I'm broken. I'm motherless. Story 28. Everything seems to be going wrong at once. It's overwhelming, and I can't get my footing. My best friend's mother, who I've known for 16 years, just died unexpectedly. It hurts so much to see him in pain. I spent all day with him, watching her body being taken away, helping him clean out the apartment, and trying to be there for him. 3 days later, my favorite uncle died from rapidly spreading cancer. I got to say goodbye, but he wasn't conscious. Seeing him gasping for air when he had always been the life of the party was incredibly difficult. I can't imagine what my aunt and cousin are going through. My boyfriend received news that his mother's dementia is advancing quickly. I don't know what to say or do except be there for him and hold him when he cries. It hurts to see him in so much pain. My mother is deeply entrenched in alcoholism, which has resulted in mild brain damage after 50 years. She has spent the last week in a drunken stupor, no matter what I try to do. My brother, who also struggles with alcoholism, is experiencing some sort of drug and alcohol-induced psychosis or delusion. I spent hours trying to talk to him. Our father died from the effects of alcoholism when I was just 2 months old. He is headed down the same path, and so is my mother. It's going to destroy them, and I can't do anything about it. That thought devastates me. On top of everything, the tariff situation may cost me my job, though it's hard to focus on that right now. I'm just sad and tired. Tired of mourning. I feel at the end of my rope with other people's addictions, which hurt me because I love them so much, but it won't change anything. I feel like I don't have anything left in me. Just when I start to feel some sense of normalcy, something else devastating happens, and it tears my heart open. I know no one will probably read this, but it feels good to express it. Tomorrow, I'll wake up to more heart-wrenching headlines about others suffering, possibly worse than me. I'm just tired. Story 29. I am feeling burnt out and am in the process of selling my business. A buyer has been found, and the lawyers are drawing up the paperwork for the sale. I am moving toward early retirement. Oddly enough, I am experiencing stress from doubting whether I am making the right decision. Additionally, I feel stress about managing the ownership transition for the year and will continue to feel stressed until all the signatures are finalized. Story 30. Losing my mother and brother a few years ago has left a lasting impact, and I am still coping with that loss. The pain you feel inside never really goes away, even after so many years. Story 31. I have come to the conclusion that if certain red lines are crossed by this current government, my family may have to leave the country just to be safe. My family has served in the military for 3 generations, including me, and now we no longer feel safe in the country I was willing to die for. Story 32. I sense that change is coming soon in my life, but I have no idea how to prepare or in what area it could be. Work, my boyfriend, or a move closer to family. I have been praying for something significant. I have been patient for a long time, and I need something to happen. Story 33. I lost a lot of memory and cognitive abilities after a brain injury a few years ago. I have been actively working to overcome this and have finally accepted that it is actually getting worse. However, what truly crushed me is the apathy in modern dating. Story 34. I met an amazing woman. We had a lot in common, and our chemistry was remarkable. 2 days after we met, she said she didn't want to see me anymore. Story 35. My former obstetrician-gynecologist was recently arrested for not cleaning the equipment he uses, which is concerning. Story 36. My girlfriend announced she was transgender the week before Valentine's Day, which is also our anniversary. I tried to be supportive and still am, but I admitted to myself this week that although I am supportive, the person I fell in love with isn't there anymore. I still love the person and am still supportive, but being in a relationship with a man just isn't for me. I am uncertain whether he will let me stay friends with the person I care about. Story 37. I am transgender and disabled in the United States, so the direct attacks on my existence by the government have been extremely disheartening. I am not really doing very well, but I have to keep going. Story 38. My motivation is low, but I know that part of it is just me not getting up and doing it. I am a 20-year-old female, and I am also in love with my best friend of 3 years. Her relationship with her new boyfriend is difficult for me. I need therapy. Story 39. Getting far enough away from a toxic person has allowed me to start mourning the people and relationships I lost before getting caught in that nightmare. I'm grateful it's finally safe to do this, but it hits hard. Story 40. I had a biopsy recently, and my family didn't seem to care. I felt very alone. The hurtful things my mother does and says to me have been difficult to handle. I have had to cut off contact with her. I am trying to take care of myself and regain my balance. Story 41. I ended a 7-year relationship with an amazing woman very abruptly last October. I fell hard for her, but she didn't feel the same way. I thought I was over it, but I'm not. She's still on my mind. As a result, I found myself in jail last October. I got out in January to absolutely nothing. Now I am homeless, jobless, and worst of all, alone. How am I doing? Not good. I could really use someone right now. Story 42. The constant series of unfortunate events that I have endured has been challenging. I have a master's degree and several certifications. I have been unemployed for over a year, aside from a 4-month seasonal position at the Internal Revenue Service, and I have drained my recently retired parents of the little savings they had. I am keeping a spreadsheet with dates, interviews, and important notes. Since my layoff in October, I have sent out 174 applications, had 23 interviews, and received 1 job offer that was rescinded after the company filed for bankruptcy. I have been delivering food and dog sitting to make ends meet. 2 weeks ago, my mother's car was totaled, and they are bearing the consequences of a serious mistake by the insurance company. I feel terrible because I am trying so hard and have nothing to show for it. So I am doing what I can. Filling my schedule with dog-sitting jobs, using rideshare services, and signing off my lease to save while I continue to keep track of my applications. The job market is difficult, and it is even harder without a car. The future feels bleak, but I remain hopeful that all these challenges are leading to something positive. Story 43. Feeling incredibly helpless and anxious about the current state of the world, especially regarding the emerging dictatorship in the West and the ongoing conflicts in the East and Middle East. It shouldn't concern me as much since I am living in a relatively safe country that isn't heavily involved in the chaos. However, witnessing how extremists are destroying entire economies and committing war crimes, while not only evading consequences but being celebrated for their actions, takes a toll on my mental health. At least it distracts me from my personal problems. Story 44. The realization that this is the last summer before all my best friends move away, and I'm going to be stuck inside the whole time recovering from 2 major bone surgeries. I know they'll come to visit me, but it just isn't the same as being out and about making memories. The Renaissance Fair is coming, conventions are coming, and a few of my absolute favorite bands along with Dimension 20 are touring in my area, and I won't get to see any of them because of the surgery recovery times. It's really frustrating, and no one seems to understand why I'm so upset because they reassure me that the surgeries will be beneficial in the long run. I know that. I really do, but it still hurts in the moment. Story 45. I would say the sudden, unexpected death of my 48-year-old fiancé 18 months ago, followed by redundancy a few months later, has been the biggest blow to my mental health ever. I am slowly healing, albeit with ups and downs. Yes, the second year is worse than the first. It feels like a limbo where you are in no way ready to make long-term plans, yet losing him seems like both yesterday and ages ago at the same time. Story 46. My boyfriend seems uninterested in sex these days. There are a few things I have pointed out to him that seem to improve his libido, but he just doesn't do them. One of those things is working out regularly. I ask him to go to the gym with me, but he always declines. This makes me feel unattractive to him or that he didn't like our sex life to begin with and doesn't want to hurt my feelings. This has been tough lately. I can't decide if it's a situation where, if he wanted to, he would, or if he is just at an age where it doesn't matter to him anymore. Story 47. My depression has gotten out of control. Total loss of pleasure, hobbies, and socializing feel like draining chores. I can't concentrate and leave my belongings everywhere due to my attention deficit disorder, and my job is exhausting me. I have been working the night shift for the last year and managed to average a maximum of 5 hours of sleep per day. It can affect anyone, and I underestimated the impact that chronic lack of sleep has on a person. I am a shell of who I used to be. Story 48. My sisters. One was living with me for too long and finally moved out. She was unpleasant after the move. Then the other one had a crisis and is at my house now. She cannot stop crying, and her crisis is of her own making. I am 65 and just want peace and to be left alone. I've had a recurring dream that my house is on fire. I might have to sell my home of 40 years and move to a tent to get rid of them. My children do not even come home when they have a crisis. They make a plan and figure out their lives. Why do my sisters think I am their personal crash pad? I dislike this situation. Story 49. The uncertainty around the tariffs is directly affecting my business. I am trying to figure out how to make it work, but there is no way around it, and it is stressing me out more than ever. I have never felt this angry and anxious before, and I am having a hard time coping with it. I try to play soccer and piano to release some of my energy, but it is not helping. The fact that one person can do this while fully knowing how it impacts citizens is the root of my anger. Story 50. I am slipping back into mental illness. COVID-19 was the beginning of my problems. I no longer have time to pray or meditate. I am not sure if I am even clear enough to explain the rest. Story 51. I am having a hard time doing the day-to-day tasks while it feels like we're moving towards authoritarianism, and we have to carry on as if everything is fine. We need to drive results at work and keep going as if nothing in the world is wrong. Watching the news about the El Salvador prison is making me physically ill, and I struggle to disconnect without feeling guilty about not doing enough to help, even though I know I cannot make a meaningful difference. It is troubling to see so many people gleefully watching and cheering such horrific events while denying reality. This situation is incredibly distressing. I already have normal personal stress, so this adds to it. I cannot understand how others continue without feeling overwhelmed. I cannot imagine what the families and individuals who were arbitrarily picked up as political pawns are going through. Story 52. Every conversation feels like a goodbye. My family is facing an inevitable tragedy, and my mother is longing for peace. I have to be away from home for an unknown amount of time, and I don't know how I will cope without my pets. Story 53. I have been dealing with the stress of the current political climate in the United States. Many people I love could be in danger of losing their rights or their lives. I have been keeping it bottled up and trying to be an emotional support for my fiancé, who is going through a rough time. However, when it came up in conversation recently, I let out my worries. It helped to talk about it, but now they are more worried too. We are doing okay, though. Story 54. I feel like I am stuck right now. I am on assistance and denied laundry money. I am also given such a low amount that most of it has to be saved for rent. I am not joking about that. I cannot find a job even though I have been applying for many months. My rent is increasing by almost $120, and there are no other places within my budget that are more than just a bedroom for rent. Story 55. Towards the end of my last year in school, I had an epileptic seizure. Since then, I have had to take medication to treat it, which completely disrupted my concentration until I had to withdraw from school. I still have not been able to get in touch with a psychiatrist, and I am beginning to lose hope. It has been almost a year since then, and I am still doing nothing except lying in bed, occupied only by my own self-loathing. Story 56. Father had a heart attack and cardiac arrest, and has been in a vegetative state for 7 weeks. Fingers crossed. Story 57. I realize I have been running on autopilot for months, staying busy and productive, but feeling completely disconnected from myself. I am now trying to slow down and reconnect with my emotions, one quiet moment at a time. Story 58. I am currently in a transitional phase in my life, waiting for better times to come, but I am unsure if they will, given the state of the United States. I feel very tired and burnt out. Story 59. My mom passed away 3 weeks ago. Nothing prepares you for it, no matter how much you think you are ready. Story 60. Serious injury 7 months ago left me unable to walk without crutches. The surgery I had last September should have fixed it in time, but it didn't, so I just had another surgery 2 weeks ago. It's been challenging on many levels, but at least I can work from home. I'm not sure what my quality of life will be in the future and how normal my walking will ever be again. It was also just the 1-year anniversary of my favorite cat dying suddenly and at a young age. Additionally, my stepsister had to put down her dog yesterday due to cancer. Plus, the world is an absolute mess right now. Story 61. One of my dogs injured his knee and he cannot walk well. He is scheduled for surgery, but it is expensive and is adding to my mental burden, especially with everything else I have going on. Story 62. We have struggled with infertility for 4 years. After countless injections and testing, my husband and I resigned ourselves to the possibility that I might be getting too old at 37. 2 months after we made our peace, I got pregnant. Currently, I am 27 weeks along, and my excitement is constantly overshadowed by the overwhelming dread I feel about the turmoil happening in the United States. I am terrified of bringing another child into this world and the lasting effects it may have on my children. It's a daily struggle between wanting to know what is happening and actively avoiding it because it severely impacts my mental health. Story 63. Health issues essentially ended my relationship. It is so hard. I am struggling but grateful. Could be much worse. I have many things to be thankful for, and I deeply realize and appreciate that. However, the pain can be overwhelming at times. Story 64. My husband, who is in his mid-30s, has been diagnosed with a glioblastoma. We have 2 young boys who need their father. I am chronically unwell, but I must stay strong as the caregiver for my family. Story 65. My dad passed away unexpectedly a year ago. My mom is not dealing with it well, so I quit my 22-year career to move in with her and help take care of her. I am very scared. Story 66. Multiple things. 1. My dad lost his job recently, so it has been stressing me out. I applied to transfer colleges and I am scared about the outcomes. I have a full-time job and am a student. At this point, I am burnt out and do not care anymore, but I know I will care once I recover. Story 67. I am 32 years old and have experienced several medical problems over the past year. I have been dealing with worsening bipolar episodes. I underwent shoulder surgery and have been in physical therapy for 3 months, making some progress, but it is a gradual process. I may have genetic heart issues. Could be worse, so I am trying to stay positive. Story 68. My friend died suddenly a few months ago, and it has devastated me. I have never felt so depressed and lonely in my life. They were the kindest friend I ever had, and this has been a significant loss. Story 69. My lumbar spine is damaged from lifting something too heavy with improper form. Week 4. I have pain down my left leg and cannot stand for more than a few minutes without discomfort. 2 doctors have told me I am in for a long recovery. I have no idea how long I will be out. I have made some progress, but it is minimal. It is frustrating because this is my favorite time of year where I live, and I am missing it. I also had to cancel a trip I had always wanted to take to the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. It has been a tough time for me. Story 70. I had a silent miscarriage at 16 weeks and had to undergo a dilation and curettage procedure. The grief is overwhelming. I fell into a negative cycle and engaged in gambling more than I should have, which made everything worse. I'm trying to do better and give myself grace, but it's challenging. Story 71. Losing my dog after 12 years of being my best friend, therapist, and emotional support has been incredibly difficult. The house is silent now, and I no longer need to run the vacuum to pick up all the little white hairs he always shed. Story 72. My younger sister, who is 27 years old and suffering from fentanyl addiction, was a victim of human trafficking by my own father. I just found out at the beginning of February this year. Story 73. My husband and I conducted a wellness check on our neighbor a week ago. She had given me a key for this purpose. She had many issues, including alcohol. When we opened the door, she was right there. She had passed away 2 days earlier. The medical examiner spoke with us and said it was most likely a cardiac event, and that there was nothing anyone could have done. This is difficult. Story 74. My baby will not sleep more than 2 to 3 hours straight. She is 10 months old, and the sleep deprivation is making me very unwell. Story 75. My ex had borderline personality disorder. We dated for almost 4 years, and it was my first relationship. Her sister passed away, which changed her significantly. In the last month, she basically told me that everything we enjoyed together was just me enjoying it while she pretended to. She left me and went no contact shortly after, taking the dog with her. I sacrificed friendships and college dating for her and moved across the country, getting rid of most of my belongings. After just over a year, I'm still struggling to recover from some traumatic responses I realized I had developed. However, I feel like I am starting to move forward. Despite that, I just can't seem to connect with people in general. I often feel chronically bored and lonely. My new interests and a sense of distrust don't help either. I feel like I am wasting my life. Story 76. It's been a couple of things, actually. My bunny died. Everyone at university dislikes me. I'm not performing well academically. I'm fighting with my best friend, and my addiction is out of control. I'm just going to say I'm not doing well. Story 77. Aging and losing my looks. I try to deal with it daily, reminding myself that it happens to everyone eventually. Story 78. The innocent men were sent to a prison where they face torture and death. Their families and they themselves experience real terror. I can't shake this feeling. What have we become? Story 79. Living in the United States as a queer leftist woman working in abortion access is challenging. Things are not great. Story 80. The biggest blow to my mental health recently has been unmasking after my late diagnosis of autistic attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's like everything I thought I knew about myself and the world has come into sharper focus, but in a way that's not exactly comforting. This made me realize how much I've been hiding, how much of my life I've been forced to conceal. And now, looking back, it's hard to see it any other way. I'm seeing the world as it is, not through the lens of all my learned coping mechanisms, and it's overwhelming. It's like witnessing everything that's wrong with my life all at once, and that clarity can feel suffocating. The worst part is that my abandonment issues are still present, and they've kept me in a place where unmasking feels like a betrayal. Like if I let myself be fully me, I'll lose everything. It feels like being trapped in a paradox. I want to show the world who I really am, but the fear of rejection keeps me in a constant state of internal conflict. It's hard not to feel like I'm doing something wrong, as if revealing the real me is a crime or a failure. I'm working through it, but it's challenging. I'm still trying to figure out how to hold space for myself while navigating a world that doesn't always understand or accept me for who I truly am. Some days are better than others, but I'm just trying to take it step by step, even when it feels like I'm breaking apart. Story 81. Major redundancies are coming for my department. Leadership has decided to cut 20% of the staff, and they have a list of those being let go. However, they have not communicated this information yet, which is causing a lot of anxiety. I have not eaten or slept properly in 2 weeks. Story 82. Few things. Seizures have returned after 15 years, which completely uprooted my life. I am experiencing major stress at work, a breakup with my best friend, and feeling overwhelmed by the state of the world. I'm just trying my best every day, and that's all I can do. Story 83. I left my full-time job before Christmas due to my position being eliminated without warning. I was advised to apply to the next store that was hiring for that role, but it was further away than I preferred. I didn't get the job, so I decided to leave because I was reduced to part-time hours and lost my benefits. They also cut our staffing hours while still expecting the same, if not more, workload. It took 2 months to find a part-time job that hired me. I am still applying for more full-time positions and also exploring another part-time opportunity to see what happens first. I informed my coworkers that I would take their shifts. I was denied unemployment benefits and requested an appeal. The date for that is to be determined. My left shoulder is in worse condition than I realized, and I need to have disability forms filled out for work now. I am trying to reach my doctor to assist with that because I found out that my physical therapist cannot. I like my job. I just wish I had more hours. I am hesitant to take a sedentary position due to my history with lower back issues. I just turned 40 and feel like I am falling apart. I have started putting larger bills on credit cards, and my balances are increasing. I was just denied a new credit card because I was planning to transfer a balance to secure lower interest rates. I just need to win the lottery. Anything between $50,000 to $80,000 would help. I feel like I am doing everything I can, yet I keep facing setbacks, and I am seriously considering unconventional options for extra income. Story 84. I experienced my second detached retina in January. The first occurred in October. This time, I have been in a lot of pain. The second detachment happened 12 weeks after the first surgery, and this week marks 11 weeks since the second surgery, so I'm feeling a bit anxious. Additionally, my dog is not doing well, and I worry we may not have him much longer. All of this is occurring 2 years after my dad's unexpected passing. Story 85. University is fascinating, and it moves me closer to my dream job. However, at times it feels overwhelming. Recently, I became so stressed that I froze during an assessment. I knew the material but struggled to communicate it. I am currently preparing to retake the assessment, and if I do not succeed again, I may have to repeat the semester. I am concerned that this could disrupt the rest of my academic year and potentially delay my graduation by another year. This situation has already been complicated by a previous withdrawal due to mental health issues. Every day, I find myself grappling with thoughts of self-destruction. Story 86. Having a medical condition that no one has been able to identify for 3 months has sent me to the emergency room twice. Each time I have an appointment scheduled for tests, it gets canceled for various reasons. I feel like I am meant to live like this forever with no answers or until it is too late to resolve it. Story 87. It's been 13 years now. After I broke up with my entire family at once, I never recovered. I wanted to do a facelift in the old house of some very dear single aunts, something I could do alone, like painting or a small renovation. However, my cousins convinced me to involve the whole family and undertake a larger renovation, which ended up becoming demolition and construction from scratch. What seemed like a dream quickly turned into a nightmare when troubles, fights, and mistrust began to arise. In the midst of the work, one of these aunts, who hadn't fully agreed with the project as she was very attached to the house, discovered she had cancer and passed away in less than a month. I learned that she left the house we rented for just the two of them on the same block and went to sleep on the floor of the empty, half-demolished house at night. This broke my heart and made me feel guilty about her death, leading me to experience symptoms of post-traumatic stress, deep depression, and suicidal thoughts. Story 88. This might be the best it will ever be, and everything will only keep getting worse once climate change affects us. I am just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I'm not sure if I should give up or wait it out, to be honest. My life expectancy doesn't seem very long considering my mental health conditions appear to worsen each year, and my therapist recently stopped responding. I want to move out very badly, but I can't afford anything that isn't in poor condition with difficult neighbors. I dislike living with roommates and don't want to be a burden to anyone. My family is falling apart, and I feel like I can't rely on them for help or emotional support. I am very concerned about what will happen if my mother passes away, and I live in fear of that day. I don't have many close friends to depend on. I am also struggling to find a job in my city and am frustrated that my personal information was sold to a data broker, resulting in spam texts about fake jobs. Job searching makes me feel worthless, and I have been trying to avoid that feeling just to keep going. This is just my vent. Please disregard it. Story 89. I have decided to be more proactive about resolving my chronic pain issues. However, dealing with health insurance in the United States is challenging. The last time I addressed these issues, I had good insurance, but now I do not. This has made it difficult to decide whether to proceed with treatments that cost $1,400 and may work. Story 90. My overthinking is overwhelming. I feel it's chaotic because I am aware of what is happening. These are actual facts. Please do not deny my experiences or lie to me. I already know. A little reassurance goes a long way instead of trying to conceal what I am already aware of. Story 91. My father was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer, and he is ready to rest. He is only 40, and I am not ready to lose my dad. Story 92. My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer less than 2 years after my mom passed away. I also work full-time and attend school full-time. I have a 4-year-old whom I care for every afternoon until bedtime while my husband works. My dad had to move in with me due to medical equipment needs. I am managing all phone calls and appointments because he cannot speak. I feel overwhelmed. Story 93. I was back at the gym, finally losing some weight. My business was going well, and then my father died. I fell off the gym routine, and work-wise, I feel like I am at about 30% capacity. Working for more than a few hours leaves me exhausted, and I cannot focus on any of my hobbies, like playing the drums, drawing, or 3D printing. Grief is challenging. Story 94. I realized that I wasn't taken seriously when I went to the emergency room with a severe leg injury. They said it was just a bad sprain. Recent x-rays showed it was a fracture that healed incorrectly. Now I can't walk properly. I can't help but think I wouldn't be in this situation if I were worth the effort it took to listen to me. Story 95. I recently experienced a significant failure at work, which led to a deep emotional response. I'm feeling stressed that it might happen again, and this anxiety has made me irritable with my coworkers. When I go to work, I feel like a soulless zombie, and the environment just isn't the same. Despite all this, I often tell myself that I can't wait to quit my job. Lately, I feel as if people are distancing themselves from me. I experience a lot of anger and self-hatred related to that perception. Although it may not be happening, I notice small signs that make me believe it is, and it's difficult not to react. I'm managing to stay calmer on the surface and am learning to talk myself through my feelings more effectively. However, it remains challenging. I often find myself feeling angry and carrying a chip on my shoulder. It feels like I am constantly battling destructive impulses in a very hostile world. Story 96. I am not doing very well, but I keep pushing through for my children. I am nearing a midlife crisis and feel like I have hit the lowest point in my life. I am emotionally unavailable and recently separated from my partner, so I can't cry, nor do I have anyone to talk to. However, I keep going because I want and need to for them. Story 97. My partner of almost 4 years ended our relationship through a text message the week after my birthday, which he forgot. I am also in the process of obtaining Family and Medical Leave Act paperwork for intermittent disability due to chronic migraines and several triggers. My boss is hinting that I will soon have a disciplinary meeting. Thankfully, I have a paper trail, but without the Family and Medical Leave Act paperwork, I risk being fired for exceeding the allowed number of call-outs in a year. I am not having a good time. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.